Guess who has Perplexity's new and expensive agentic browser, Comet? Well, spoiler alert, it's me. I'm Jason Howell, and I'm a huge fan of Perplexity, and they actually just announced a new $200 per month plan. No, I don't subscribe to it. It's called Perplexity Max. And that includes exclusive access to the brand new agentic AI browser, Comet. Well, the fine folks at Perplexity actually granted me access to the browser so I can test it out. So I'm going to go hands-on with a series of, I'd say, litmus tests to trial the unique capabilities of this browser and see how it handles itself. And then at the end, I'll share my thoughts on what this might mean for the web at large. So let's dive in. So first of all, what is Comet and what does it aim to do? Well, as you can see here, it looks a heck of a lot like the Chrome browser because it is a Chromium browser after all, with Perplexity's AI models built into it. So essentially that means it has the context of every tab that's open in the browser. I've got this button over here for Assistant. I can open that up and then I can query, basically fire off Perplexity queries inside of that area. But it's more than that. It's also an agent. And the goal is to move away from traditional browsing more toward like cognitive browsing. If you think it, you can do it, or at least that's what Perplexity thinks. Users can interact with content in more of a conversational manner. So you can do things like automate tasks, summarize information, contextualize inside of the browser in real time without having to move information from one place to another by files or copy paste, that sort of stuff. The real question then is, does Comet and other AI integrated browsers like it, do they stand a chance at unseating Google and Google's Chrome browser? That's what we're going to find out. So first off, let's start with an email in my Gmail inbox. This is, of course, sent to me from me. I had to set it up, but I think it'll make sense. Essentially, the idea here is I'm contacted by this person and I need to find a spot on my calendar to fit a meeting with this person. So I want the Comet agent to find that spot on my calendar, set a tentative reservation on my calendar for that potential meeting, and then also draft an email to this person to propose the time so that they get that in their inbox. So I'm going to put the prompt in. We go up here, right? We're on the page, pull open the assistant, and I'll paste in the prompt, find a time in my schedule to book this meeting and draft a response. Also mark that time in my calendar as tentative. Okay, and what we come back with is a little area that's kind of an action item, right? It's not going to actually schedule this without my thumbs up. So it gives me the information. This would be tomorrow at 3 p.m., 3 to 3:30, and it kind of gives a little bit of extra information. It does say that it was scheduled by Comet Assistant, so there's a little bit of clarity around that. If I go ahead and schedule, and poof, now it appears that there is a entry that should be in my calendar, which I'll check in a second, that has a link for a Google Meet, and it has that time reserved tentatively. There should also be an email sent out to this person in my drafts. Let's take a look and see if those things exist. First of all, there is a calendar invite that has entered into my calendar for that 3 to 3:30 spot. There's a little bit of information in there that says that it's tentative in the description. And then checking my sent mail in my business Gmail, I do find an email that was sent out. The unfortunate thing is I don't think it was sent to the right place. It looks like it's from Jason at Yellow Gold Studios to Jason at Yellow Gold Studios. Didn't quite go to Tall Podcaster, my other email address. So that's a little off base. Maybe I did something wrong there, but that's something to address. Nonetheless, it looks like it did a pretty good job of carrying these things out. It's just that person that I'm replying to has no idea that I've done any of this. So I'd have to check that out. All right, the second trial here. Say I'm on Twitter and I come across someone who's really interesting. Like, oh, I don't know, Aravind Srinivas, the CEO of Perplexity. You know, I find him pretty darn interesting. Hopefully someday I get a chance to talk to him on AI Inside. Let's say I come across his profile and I want to, see if we have any mutual connections on LinkedIn, right? I want to get in touch with this person. Maybe there's someone that connects us in order to do that. So I'm going going to go ahead and I have my assistant window open. I'm going to go ahead and pop in this prompt. Do I have mutual connections with this person on LinkedIn? All right, so it's completed its query. It says, yes, I have several mutual connections. A direct connection is Robert Scoble. We are listed as mutual connections directly. And then there are a whole bunch of other people that we are connected, I think, through Robert Scoble, our, connections like Rafe Needleman, Sarah Lane, Nicole Lee, just a bunch of my friends in the industry. And so I don't know that those names are necessarily directly linked to Aravind, but I am definitely to Robert Scoble. And this just kind of illustrates the kind of cross-service, cross-platform capabilities of the agentic search to be able to contextualize what's on the screen, then reach out to an entirely different place and find information and then pull it back without me having to go there. That's pretty awesome. All right, up next, let's say I'm reading an article and I want to understand, I'm getting a good sense of what the article is all about and the perspective of the author, but I want to understand what some other perspectives on this article might be. Pretty important in today's day and age. So I have my assistant drawer open and I just need to put in the prompt to kick it off in the right direction. We'll go ahead and do that. What are the counterpoints to this article, right? I'm not stating anything other than this. It knows that it's talking about the browser window that is open right now, and that's where it's going to pull that context from. And almost immediately, this was a lot faster than some of the other queries that I've done so far. It comes back with, it says, several counterpoints and criticisms raised in response to the SAG-AFTRA video game actors' new contract with studios on AI security. And it has some union leadership critique, impact on non-union actors, a number of different pieces of information here to give me the counterpoint, the alternative viewpoint on this particular news item. And that's incredibly helpful. As a Perplexity user, someone who uses it all the time, these are things that I often do in Perplexity to get a better understanding of certain things. The difference is I have to do a lot of maneuvering. I have to do a lot of copy text and then paste it over here and moving these pieces from one place to another. Having it embedded in the browser automatically, I can already tell you it's going to make my life a lot easier. I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. Hey, so this was a total last minute idea to put this video together, and I hope you're liking it. If you do, please hit that like button, subscribe button, maybe even the notification bell so you'll get more like this in the future. It'll let me know that you like what you're seeing and you want more. All right, back to the Comet litmus test. All right, up next, something that's probably going to save you a lot of time. I know it will me when it's time for me to go somewhere and, book a flight. There's always, that taking the information from the flight, dropping it into my calendar, and making sure it's all represented properly. And then I have to figure out how I get to the airport a couple of hours in advance. And then there's, parking in long term and the driving there that takes time. All this stuff takes time and it all has to be accounted for. That can be a little bit of a mess. So I'm kind of trying to replicate this without actually purchasing any tickets. I've opened up Kayak and I have a quick trip from San Francisco to Denver listed here. And so I'm going to open up the assistant so that I can go ahead and put my prompt into the field to kick this off. And I'm basically telling it, add these flights to my calendar, include drive times that leave room for long-term parking and give me at least 2 hours at the airport itself, and leave room between the airport and the office. I didn't actually specify where the office is. I'm sure if I had an office in Denver, then it would be able to grok that and understand that. But in this case, we'll see what it comes back with. All right, so check it out. It came back with 4 total entries. That's 2 for the way there and 2 for the way back. And each of these would end up in my calendars the minute I hit schedule for each of them. So I basically have to say, give it a thumbs up and say, yes, I will accept what you gave. So in the case of this first one, 4:30 a.m. leaving my house, takes a little while to get to the airport, 6:35 arrival at the airport. The flight is 8:35, so it respected the 2 hours that I want to be at the airport. And then it puts in the 8:35 to 11:14 a.m. flight. This, of course, says 12:14, but that's Denver time. So go back an hour and you get 11:14. So it appears to have done it. And it looks like on the way back, it nailed it as well. Now, if I add just one of these, I'll go ahead and hit schedule. Actually, I'll hit schedule on all 4. I will remember, hopefully, that I don't actually need to go to Denver this weekend. And now it's telling me that it has added all 4 of those calendar entries to my Google Calendar. And then, of course, as you can see here, looking at my calendar, this is Saturday, the 12th. And sure enough, there is the entry as it said it was going to do. That's pretty awesome stuff. Even a little bit before that, it has the leave home calendar entry as well. So it's giving me everything I asked for. Now that was pretty cool. This one is really cool. So I got an email from the Human X conference. I had wanted to go to that conference earlier this year. It ultimately didn't end up happening. Now I'm on their list, and I just got an email with the first 50 speakers of next year's Human X conference being announced. And I want to know what to expect from these speakers. And further than that, I want to know who I should focus my booking efforts on to try and maybe get them on the AI Inside podcast for a chat. So I'll paste the prompt down here. It's a little bit of a mouthful. Find the agenda for the Human X conference and identify the 50 speakers, review their LinkedIn profiles and all of their recent public comments and press to determine what they're most likely to discuss. From that, determine 5 to 8 themes that are likely to emerge in attendees' minds over the event. And from there, determine which of these names are the best ones to invite onto the AI Inside podcast based on reputation and insight. I know that's a mouthful, but if I was to do this manually, it would take a very long time. Let me tell you, because I've done this stuff and it does take a long time. So let's see what Perplexity and Comet come back with. Hopefully it'll save me some time. Man, it just keeps on going. It's doing a lot of research right now. This one has me really excited, actually. Okay, and you can see that it just came back with all of the information. It's giving me a whole list of names and a short little blurbs on each of those names to kind of give a sense of like what they've talked about recently in the past and what they're likely to talk about at the event. And it says up here, 50 key speakers, their roles, their topics, lists them out. Brett Taylor is going to be there. Andrew Ng, I would love to talk with Andrew Ng, of course. Lots of recognizable names here. And then it says, here are a few of the emerging themes across the 2 days. Agentic AI, of course. Human AI collaboration, physical AI automation, infrastructure as scale, lots of really, important current topics. And now it gets to, these are the guest recommendations for the AI Inside podcast. And a lot of the names that I would hope would make it to this list are here. Brett Taylor, Andrew Ng, Christine Yen, Clara Shi. I mean, this is a great starting point because for me as an independent podcaster / creator, and it even gave me a table. So I can draw this out and I can get more of a sense of what that table says instead of being cramped and confined to the little short area there. And so this gives me a little bit of a summary. This is just incredibly useful for me because I am one person doing a lot of this stuff, and especially research into like who's worth reaching out to and cultivating and bringing onto the podcast. I get so much inbound for the podcast. It's hard to make sense of it. So I could really see using Comet to help me kind of reduce my time there and to make sure that I'm not missing any amazing opportunities. So that is awesome. All right, next challenge. I have 3 pages open. Actually, I have 4 tabs open, but I'm going to see how it does with this. 3 of the tabs have cameras that I'm supposedly researching to buy, right? Like I've got all these different options. Let's say I'm researching these and I want an easy tabulation of this information in a single unified view. This is the sort of thing that I would use Perplexity for, but I'd have to kind of, pop information in and out, and it might not be as easy as just saying, take these tabs that are already open and do something with it. So I'm going to go ahead and paste my prompt in, and it is compare the video recording capabilities of the 3 cameras I was looking at. This is a nice test of like memory of the tabs and everything. Create a markdown table highlighting the key differences. And as you can see, it gets to work. I'll go ahead and drag this out because I know it's probably going to give me a table and I'm going to need the extra space for it. All right, well, not only did I need the extra space for it, it gave me a full-on chart here. Check it out. The comparison of the video recording capabilities for the 3 cameras, highlighting their differences. So it recognizes that I had 3 cameras open in my tabs, even though I had a 4th tab that had nothing to do with cameras. It didn't throw it off or anything. And it gives me a little readout as far as bit rate and maximum frames per second based on what we found in the information information that it pulled back and a little bit of the highlights to kind of detail and summarize. And I'm sure I could continue to ask questions back and forth against this on a deeper level if I wanted to. Maybe something like, which one is best for live streaming? And let's see what it says if I kick back. That is adding to, as you can see, the thread that I just came from. And it gives me a bunch more information directly related to strengths and weaknesses in live streaming, including things like, the GH5 has clean HDMI out, which is what I'm using right now. That's pretty awesome. Next up, we're going to test how Comet does managing itself, right? It's not just about the sites that you visit. It can also do certain things for itself that maybe you don't want to do. For instance, if I had a ton of links open, different tabs open of all different types, and I want to organize them, I can give that to Comet and have Comet do that for me so that I don't have to do it manually, which is pretty neat. I've got a bunch of recipes open, some news sites, some blank Google pages to see if maybe it'll get rid of those. So I'm going to fire off the prompt, group all news articles in daily briefing, recipes into food, and close duplicate tabs. Now, I'm very curious to see if it does all three of those things and how well it does it. All right, I'd say it got almost all the way there. As you can see, it put all of my recipes into a food group. It put all of my news into a daily briefing group. I still have the 3 empty Google pages, and it actually tells me here, no duplicate tabs were found to close at this time. If you have specific duplicates in mind, let me know. What about the Google search pages? There are 3 of them open. Let's see if that kicks it into gear, or if it just tries to tell me some information about those, or if it actually gets rid of them. It's reading the tabs. Hey, it did it. It got rid of 2 of them anyways. It left 1 open, so that's good. So it was able to recognize it with a little bit of extra prompting. I don't know. Maybe that means that next time you're not going to have to go that extra step. But still, nonetheless, I consider that a win. Now, my final test here, I want to vet some inbound collaboration requests. I get so many of them, and I really often need to be sure that they're on the up and up before I pursue a partnership, and that can take some time. So we can see here, I have an email from someone who is interested in a collaboration, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in my prompt and see how it does with this. It says, I'm considering a collaboration with this company. What can you tell me about the company's reputation that I should know about before I decide to go forward with it? And now it kicks right in. It didn't take very much time at all. It says that this company has an overall positive reputation, especially among marketers, agencies, and professionals who need to manage multiple social or advertising accounts. So maybe I will actually do this. It does have a few drawbacks, steep learning curve for non-technical users, potential slowness. And so the idea here is that it can really quickly look at the email that I'm already reading. And this is, I think, where the power of this comes in. And I think in general, where the power of a browser with agentic AI and AI contextualization built into it is you don't have to go the extra step of bringing this information in. It's already there. If you're spending all the time in the browser and this is integrated into it, then it's just right there for the picking, and you can tap right into that power with few speed bumps along the way. So look, here's my verdict after playing around with this for a while. Google has dominated with Chrome for a number of years now, but it's pretty obvious in more ways than one, there is definitely chum in the water, and Perplexity really sees an opportunity here to redefine what a browser is, what it means to have a web browser in the AI age that we are in. They're doing that with Comet. And they aren't alone. ChatGPT reportedly also working on something very similar to this that we've recently learned about. And I'm not surprised. They're probably all working on this behind the scenes, which means that Google has its work cut out for it. Not that it isn't already working hard in this department on its own. You should definitely check out my analysis of Google's major AI announcements from Google I/O just a couple of months ago. As for Comet, as for Perplexity and Comet, its agentic workflows could be a harbinger of what's to come to the web. And it's definitely a trade-off, right? You get some impressive power. You got to manage it. Obviously, the human can't be removed entirely. And it all comes in exchange for granting very deep access to your digital life. Do you feel comfortable about that? Not to mention, for now, Comet's pretty darn expensive, $200 a month. That puts it out of the reach of, I'd say, most, casual AI users. But that might change, and Perplexity might have plans to lower the barrier of entry and get more people using this. I would bet at some point they do that because they want as many people using their browser, which by extension means they're using their AI,